Welcome back to Paper Labyrinths. I'm Brendan.
I'm Nick.
And joining us is the assistant professor at Mercer University, author of academic game studies books The World is Born from Zero and the upcoming Everything is Permitted, and co-host of range touch programs like Game Studies, Study Buddies, Mages and Murder Dads, Too Much Future, Just King Things, and Shelve by Genre, Cameron Kunzelman. Welcome to the show.
It's me.
Hello.
I didn't know. What's the? Well, you got to tell me now. I probably should have asked 2 seconds ago before we begin recording.
Hit me.
What's the? I don't have a good. I've listened, I think, every episode of the show, but I don't remember. Can we curse? What's our curse limit?
I don't know if we have curse guidelines.
I truly don't think we've talked about it. I curse almost habitually, so I feel like I'd
that's
rather
why
say...
I thought I remembered. Some strong cursing. I didn't know. I thought you were going to prep an intro, right?
Yeah.
And you were going to, I didn't know if I'd get the doctor or not the doctor. And so I prepared a curse-based bit, okay?
Oh.
That is based on if you'd called me doctor. Okay, so you want, so say my name, say Dr. Cameron Kunzelman. And we'll do the bit.
Okay. I'm starting the bit now. Ready? Okay.
Yeah.
Joining us, Dr. Cameron Kunzelman.
That's Dr. Dumbass, I think you mean. I was going to do like the opposite, where people are like, "It's Doctor." I think you mean doc. One of those.
Batman's most nefarious foe.
That's right. Anyway, I'm glad. I wanted to make sure we got it in.
I appreciate it. It's fun to prepare. I was going to say, I really only curse when it's funny, and so I think this is an excellent rule. That said, if you are underage, then please email us at paperlabyrinths@gmail.com.
Brendan, you don't want to say that. You don't want to say that.
Wait,
you don't want to. That's not. You don't want to.
How did I phrase that?
Don't email me.
I am begging you to leave that in. That has to be in the episode.
I just want to know if sensitive ears are hearing the bad swears that we're saying just because we think it's funny. Not for any other reason.
You leave me out of it. Don't CC me.
Don't email me. Yeah, I'm on the other end. If you are not 18 years old in one day,
if you're under 18, please email me at matthewguzdile@gmail.com.
There you go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Great. Very good.
Man, Matthew was at a friggin' academic retreat in Germany all week, and I was like, that should be happening to me instead.
Yeah, sure. I guess it could. What's stopping you? I feel like we were supposed to yes and that in some way, but it could.
No, I was you to go get a doctorate, so you have the path forward.
Sure,
to ending up in Germany.
If I become Dr. Dumbass, then I'm allowed to go to Germany to go to Castle.
That's right.
And learn about procedural game design.
Is it a one only, like a Pope situation, or can there be multiple doctors, dumbass?
Well, going forward, it might be a kind of a Pope situation, given the state of the various Dr. Dumbass-oriented, sectors of the economy.
Sure.
So it could be there. In the past, there were Doctors Dumbass-I, and now there's merely a Dr. Dumbass.
I don't know what the vector is for like discovering like, hey, we all went to like a cabin or a hotel to like talk about game design for a week, and I'm like, I want to do that. Should do that.
You just apply, or someone asked you to apply. Yeah,
I didn't know.
It's really not complicated.
No, that's just it. I didn't know you apply. I thought you have to be like invited to like this.
Maybe you do, I don't know. But then you just like meet those people, and you're like, hey, what's up? I want to come to the castle.
That makes sense.
I don't want to go to the castle. I got to be honest with you.
Why don't you
shout out to the people at the castle.
Sure.
Haunted, scary.
Sure.
Ghosts and goblins. I played Castlevania. There's all kinds of shit in Castlevania.
Academic conferences.
There's so much stuff in Castlevania. There's Medusas. There's Frankensteins.
Someone will definitely try to get you to play Blood on the Clock Tower. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not interested. No, thank you.
Oh, gosh.
Real thing at academic, real inside baseball. Let me tell you, real thing at academic conferences these days, getting invited to do Blood on the Clock Tower.
I believe it.
Has that swept the game studies or just academia? The like big
just
social
academia.
Game kind of thing. Wow, that's fun. Well, because Werewolf, I imagine, probably was real big. No.
I mean, maybe I can't. I guess definitively say no for anything, but I can tell you that other than like maybe sometimes some games of Magic, maybe sometimes someone saying they want to play D&D and then no one doing it. Blood on the Clock Tower is like the thing that where like you get the Discord message and it's like, do people at the conference want to play Blood on the Clock Tower? It's interesting. I don't know why it broke containment.
I can imagine that being the perfect kind of entrapment scenario, because you have people that are there that are going to be there no matter what. So they don't have the excuse of like, no, I have to leave right now, because you're there for the event. And it's the sort of thing where people never get to play it unless they can manage to get 9 people in a room together, right? And so it has that desperate frenzy of like, come on, we never get to play this. You've got to do this with me, even though you probably don't necessarily want to do it.
There's something really weird about that game that I just don't find appealing anyway.
Sure.
I think design-wise it is interesting, but it's not a thing I'm interested in playing. I'm glad that people do. But it's got like a real electricity about it. When we were at PAX Unplugged last year, there was a line literally around the building. Like there was a huge L, like this massive L. I mean, not outside the building, but like the exterior kind of hallway.
Right.
And it was a full L shape of 2 of the sides of the building, of people just standing in line, hundreds of people standing in line to get a table at the clock tower. And I think that was at 9 a.m. or 8:30 a.m. because we saw it when we were on the way to play Vast Grim the day that we did that. I don't get it.
No. I like the game. I would play it. I would not wait in a line to play it. That doesn't make any sense to me.
I've not actually played it.
Do you want to play it right now?
No.
Yeah, let's do it right now. We'll just get 7 of our closest friends.
That's right.
Right.
All right. Who have we got in here? We've got JGB, we've got Brian, Grace, Megan. Yeah, we can make this happen. We'll save that for the Christmas episode. That's what we'll do. Hey, you know what we should actually do is I forgot to invite Craig, the Discord weasel, to record what we're saying.
Now recording.
There we go. Sorry about that.
I don't care for that at all. What is Craig the Discord weasel?
You don't know Craig the Discord? So he's a backup recording creator where you add him to a call and he'll like record everything
Cameron's
you say.
Slowly basically shaking his head.
I don't care for this at all.
Sorry. I should have asked permission before I psyop you.
Machines are bad. This is some Terminator 2 shit. And y'all are just lapping it up. I can't believe this.
Hey, it sounds like a guy that would tell you to stand clear of the closing doors, though.
Yeah,
he does. He does a little bit.
You trust that? You trust that man?
Did y'all see that Alien Romulus?
I haven't
yet.
What'd you think about that, Nick?
I'm quite a big Alien fan. It is my favorite film. There are parts of Romulus that really did not work for me. The biggest one is weird AI, or not AI, but like face thing with Ian Holm.
Deep fake Ian Holm. All right, let's that's evil. We all know that. Let's bracket that. Okay, all right.
That's what I was going to say. Is like let's set that aside because I don't think anyone want that.
Is that just because I'm not familiar? That's the same thing they were doing with like Tarkin in.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have, and it's. I think it's even probably just to dive into that for a second. It's even worse because you could just have Ian Holm on a video screen. And then it would work, or just like animatronic, because he's a robot. Just make him look like a bad robot. It's fine. He doesn't have to look like a human. Anyway, I don't know. I think I kind of was middling on it when I saw it, and then since I've kind of gotten some distance from it, and I've thought about it more. I want to rewatch it, and kind of now that I sort of know where it's going, I felt like it was a little drawing within the lines kind of thing of what an Alien. In a franchise kind of sense. What is Alien? Like, it's definitely does not want to stray out of that, which I think is a shame. But I know you liked it a lot, right?
I thought it was great. I thought it was really good. I mean, other than the objective evil involved, right? Like, and again, bracketing that. I thought it was great. I liked it. What's that lady's name who's in it? Alien Romulus. Let me do a little Google here. Kaylee Spaney?
Kaylee Spaney. That
can't be her name. Kaylee Spaney is her name?
I'm looking at the pronunciation guide, and that is exactly what it is. It's Kaylee Spaney.
Isn't the android's actor's name is Andy Johnson, I think?
The android's name is Andy?
No. The actor who plays the android. That would be a little on the nose. Probably too much so.
But yeah, I thought Kaylee Spaney was great. I think that she's been in some cool stuff. I liked her in Priscilla a lot.
David Johnson.
David, gotcha. Okay.
I like David Johnson's performance quite a bit. I think that worked.
I like that it's an Alien movie kind of like from the ground up. This is a conversation, or not a conversation, argument that my good friend Stephen Kearse and I were having, who he hated it. He thought it was really bad. And I like that it is the first Alien movie that is about completely unexceptional human beings from top to bottom.
Sure.
And like essentially just like a coal hauling robot. You know what I mean? Just like a not important android. Synth, whatever the in-universe thing is. And this is probably impacted by my reading every Dark Horse Alien comic.
Of which there are hundreds, I feel like.
I read almost 4,000 pages of Alien comics.
I thought I was exaggerating.
No, there's 4 omnibuses, and I think the first 3 are 1,000 pages. And so...
Oh.
They're good, by the way. Just like shout them out. Shout out like the last 40 years of Alien comics. They're all pretty good. A thing that really was revolutionary to learn is that everything after Aliens in some way is just straight up ripped out of one of the comic books with no credit whatsoever. And yeah, that's right. Alien Resurrection, where there's that's the experiment ship.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is just straight up a comic book. It's like from, I don't know, maybe 89 or 90. And it was really, so I read all those comics and watched all the movies again in preparation for Romulus. I just liked it. I liked, people talk a lot about the Nostromo being about like blue collar workers.
Right.
But part of the whole deal of that movie is that even the mechanics are not blue collar workers. They are specialists, and that's the whole share fight that they have, right? They're like, we are hyper specialists and we're not paid enough money. Mm-hmm. Whereas these are like literal, night planet dirt farmers, and I like that. I like a movie about people with no future who get attacked by an alien. That's my rousing defense of Alien Romulus.
I'm sold.
I think the other thing I didn't care for is just some of the callbacky dialogue. I felt was a little pandering, and that's
the legacy quill issue, right?
Yeah, definitely. Are you going to watch the show? The Noah Hawley show? I will watch it.
I'm very interested in it. I like Noah Hawley even when Hawley fails. So we're like, what, season 4 of Fargo? The one with Chris Rock? Just like an unquestioning failure.
I fell off
aesthetic.
Of that. Yeah.
Is that 5?
Yeah.
What was 4 then? Anyway, whatever, that one, not good. Just like not straight up.
No,
not
I'm
good.
wrong. It is 4. It is 4. Yeah.
Is this 4? Yeah, because 5's the John Hamm.
Yeah.
Woman gets away from the far right rancher guy.
Yeah.
And that was okay until literally the last scene of the last episode, and then it was not good. And that's okay, I guess. But yeah, I'm interested in it.
That's a tendency I find the Fargo TV show series seem to be really good at, is taking something that is pretty straightforward and then just finding a way to make it bad for some reason.
Yeah, all the I don't want to spoil the end. I was gonna I was gonna rip Noah Hawley apart. I was gonna destroy him with facts and logic like it was 2007.
That's right.
But I'm not going to do that. Anyway, all right. This is your show, not my show. I just want to talk about Alien Romulus. No one else will let me do it.
Spent the past 10 minutes trying to figure out who wrote these Alien comic books. The website that I'm
like 900 people.
Yeah, it's doing a very bad job of directing me to like anyone that was involved in its creation.
Oh, I think it's just straight up work for hire Dark Horse comics. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like no,
just get in and get out.
No complexity. Gotcha. Yeah.
There's not a Chris Claremont at the helm of the Alien comics.
If only.
Yeah.
I mean, Ridley doesn't give two shits about the comics. That is probably, I think, obvious.
Yes.
Did either of you play the Aliens top-down strategy game that came out a couple years ago? I forget the name because all the names of the Aliens game kind of blend together.
I don't think I know about a top-down one.
Yeah,
it's like an XCOM, right?
It is it's like a not grid-based XCOM. If you snip out in Aliens when they land on the planet and the Marines go in and then get their ass beat 10 ways from Sunday, it's a whole game about that sequence, and you're just doing that and you're exploring and doing stuff.
Dark Descent.
Dark Descent.
Yeah, I've read a bunch of stuff about it. It's great. It seemed really cool, and I think it came out like right when I could not play. Yeah, 2023.
Yeah,
that was a dead year for me.
It is like a properly scary game, and that like it's an overhead perspective. It's not like trading too much into like visual language of horror games, but it is like like my little motion detector is going off, and I know there's some aliens around, and it's interesting. There, I guess what I was sort of thinking is there's so many alien comics, but alien games are a little all over the place in some ways.
Yeah, we get like one every 3 years, basically.
Yeah,
we're on the Warhammer model of.
I was gonna say,
a new alien experience. Yeah,
they seem pretty willing to just give the license to whoever's got an idea. Which I didn't know there was a top-down tactics game. I'm definitely gonna play that.
Yeah, I know people were like way into it. I think it shares a lot of DNA with the Gears of War tactics game.
I really enjoyed
that kind of thing. I think that is turn-based, where this is more. I don't know if you ever want to say real-time tactics, because that might not mean anything.
Real-time tactics.
Lead your soldiers in real time to stop a new and terrifying kind of xenomorph.
I mean, by definition, it's the old kind of xenomorph, so I don't know why they would say that, but yeah, it is. It is
a new old kind of xenomorph.
The classic xenomorph.
Yeah, that's
classic xenomorph. Bursting out of my chest to create its young classic xenomorph.
That's what Ian Holm should have said.
That old xenomorph. He's had it again.
Whenever I hear the word xenomorph, I hear Strong Sad in the background correcting Strong Mad, going xenomorph. No, Strong Sad.
That's a Michael Lutz from I'll read Strong Bad's emails, but that's about it.
That makes sense.
Michael Lutz would be able to hit you. He'd come right back at you with some sort of reference from a Strong Bad.
I'll look forward to that.
Could you say reference again, but with more like venom than
reference? Michael's got a deep bench. He gets it. He knows what's up in Crazy Frog's penis. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. I do know what you're talking about.
I don't.
I was thinking of another way to say how online Michael Lutz has been for so long, but you've just put it so well.
Well, I had a correction on that coming in at some point recently. I don't know if that's out yet or not, but I did do some internet sleuthing to find out that Crazy Frog's penis was first exposed in the first visual. When the AI starts combing through all the transcripts of what podcasts get to be distributed, this one's going in the tank. You know what I mean? Like it's done. But no. So for a long time, Michael Lutz's mother had been tricked. My podcast co-host Michael Lutz, his mother had been tricked, according to Michael. His mother had been tricked into believing that Crazy Frog was nude all the time. And if you remember, it is a crazy frog, bomb. Beep, 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 bomb, beep, beep. People remember. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, and if you haven't, you're in for a treat.
Yeah.
If you're underage and you don't know what Crazy Frog is, you're missing out.
Email Brendan specifically.
Right.
But anyway, so I did a little internet sleuthing to find out that, in fact, there was a moral panic associated with Crazy Frog. But because later on in Crazy Frog's life, there was an image of its exposed Crazy Frog penis out in the world that was distributed, and Michael Lutz's mother thought that was the original Crazy Frog, and he said, no, dear mother, it's not. That's in fact an image edit from the memification on the internet. Lo and behold, we find out there was a moral panic in England for the original emergence of Crazy Frog because in its first commercial, its penis was out. So in some ways, Michael's mother is an originalist for Crazy Frog. And he had been fighting against the reality and fact-based truths this whole time.
I mean, I've learned more in the past 30 seconds about Crazy Frog than I thought was possible.
You got to do your own research.
It's true. It's just
I tell my parents this all
sign
the
of
time.
the times.
Yeah.
It's a big part. So on all kinds of things, you got to do your own research. Where does the weather come from? That's going to be number one. You need to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
Got to go back to first sources on this stuff.
The prime mover.
Right.
Y'all want to talk about video games or something? I don't know. I mean, I could keep going on Crazy Frog's penis if you want, but
I mean, the gravity will probably pull us back.
I was going to say, speaking of doing research, I would love to talk to you about all the ding dang books you keep writing.
Ding dang books.
Yeah, ding dang books.
Come on now.
What's the state of the magic book? Is it like at the publisher?
It's in progress. No. The Magic book's like in progress. I'm actively working on it.
Gotcha.
All the interviews are done for the Magic book. All the work is done. I just have to write it. And wouldn't you know that the hard part of working on a book is writing the thing? Would you be shocked to find out
I would not
that's
be shocked,
actually really hard?
But I've never written a book, so I am curious to know. Like, you like me have been probably a lifelong Magic the Gathering fan. You've played the Lord's game for many a year. At what point do you go like, I have something to say about the Magic the Gathering, about the way that it's constructed or what it's doing or its place within the world? And how do you go from like, well, I have this idea to the process of making a book? Like what compels you to do that?
Well, so I've written a lot.
Sure.
Like over I spent whatever, I think the first year that I made money off of beyond my own blog, right? But like made money writing about video games, I think it was 2013. So is that right? That's probably right. So like more than a decade, right? In that industry.
Right.
And so I've written, I don't know, like 1 million words, or I did the math at some point, and it's like a huge amount of stuff about games. And so, I think I felt relatively confident in terms of writing the academic books that I had something to say about the thing, because I spent a lot of time writing for a general public where you have to figure out something to say. Right. And like sometimes that's like under duress, right? Like I had a weekly column for Vice or at Waypoint, for many years. And sometimes you don't have a lot to say and you gotta like figure it out.
A week is just busy of other things that happen, and then you still have to churn out several hundred words on.
Yeah. And I was writing, I think for Paste at the same time. And also I was like working a full-time job and going to graduate school, like all of that stuff. It turns out, as I've said many times, it's wild what someone will do for money to like stay alive. And so, and I don't say any of that to be like, and so therefore I'm an authority to write the thing.
Right.
But rather like I felt I have become relatively confident in terms of talking about games in their context in the world that we live in, because I've had a lot of experience doing it, and thankfully a lot of people to talk to about it. Every editor I've ever worked with has been excellent. I've been extremely lucky across both academic and non-academic work to just work with really cool people who got it, right? And so having these kind of intensive long-form conversations, and then that stuff went out to live in the wild, and sometimes people really resonated with it, and sometimes like I thought I was going to get swatted, right? Like, those two things are true.
Sure,
and they both
right.
happened, and sometimes the same article did those things, right? And so that's all to say that like when I think I approach the academic writing, I think a little bit different than people who just come through academia and don't do that other thing
right.
at the same time, which is like when I'm working on an academic book, it's like, all right, what do I care about here? And then how do I make it interesting or appealing for someone who knows a little bit about it and might want to learn more.
Right.
Like that's where I start from. And that's Austin Walker shit, right? Like, in terms of like when Waypoint launched, I had a piece up at Waypoint the week it launched. I think it was that first Friday, because that's when the column started. And those were the conversations Austin and I had had the 6 weeks leading up to it, right? And that was the co-written stuff that we'd done before. There's this particular kind of perspective. And so I think often academics are coming from a slightly different perspective from that because they have a different incentive structure. Like my current job does not require me for tenure and promotion or whatever. It would not require me to write a book. And so I'm not out here like figuring out what is my expertise and what is my like very linear thing that I know about and will tell you about, which is how you're often encouraged to think about academic writing, right? Like what is the one thing that you will become known for and you can kind of follow a career ladder talking about your, say in the study of literature, often what people say are people in place, right? So like, where's the thing you study? Who do you study? And then implicitly there's time there, right? Like, when are they? Where are they? What do they do? Who are they? And what is their literary production? So I've actually been very lucky to not have to kind of follow that same pathway. And so this is a long setup to actually answer the question, which is to say that when I wrote the book on science fiction, I did not have a traditional academic job whatsoever. I was kind of working on the staff and support side. And so no one gave a shit. And so I just thought, there's not a book on science fiction games. And as I started writing that book, I was like, well, actually, what I care about here is not really science fiction games, although they're a part of it. I care about speculation. I care about how do games kind of frame the way we think about the world. Mm-hmm. With the Assassin's Creed book, it kind of happened in a very similar way. I'd been tinkering since way back, probably since 2015 or 2016, something like that. I've been tinkering with a thing, having lots of conversations, and I have for more than a decade with Brian Taylor, game critic, person in the world, Brian Taylor. And we'd been talking about Assassin's Creed for forever. And then I'd been reviewing. I've reviewed and written about a huge number of those games. I think since Assassin's Creed 4 is when I've been publicly doing that stuff. And so I had all these notes, and I was like, okay, I have enough ideas about this thing that it all fits together in a book. And so I just started pitching it, and it kind of went to a few different places and ended up with Minnesota with an extremely awesome editorial team. And the executive editor there, Jason, just gets it and had read my Waypoint columns and things like that and was really excited to do a different kind of thing. So, this is again, all prelude to answer the question of why write a book about Magic the Gathering or why get excited? Well, part of it is that there is not one.
Right.
There's a really interesting edited volume, edited by Shelley Jones and maybe someone else, or maybe it's just Shelley. I apologize. I don't know off the dome. And it's called, I got to look it up. I don't want to mess it up. Magic the Gathering edited volume. I don't have it right here otherwise. I would just say it. Shelley Jones.
Beyond the Deck.
Yeah, there you go.
Critical
essays on Magic the Gathering.
Yeah. Shelley Jones and Matthew Wilhelm Capel.
Oh, okay. Yeah. There we go. You can get it at Target, it looks like, which is interesting.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing to think about.
So there's that book. There's a history by Titus Chalk that is very partial and kind of only goes up to a certain point. And so I'd been approached a few years ago, I think during 2020, for a different series to write a really short book on Magic the Gathering as a science fiction franchise. And I was like, well, it's kind of a science fiction franchise.
So positioning Magic as if it was viewing it through the lens of science. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and I could see that very clearly. The Urza and Mishra and the portals, the Thran portals, all that kind of stuff. And so the idea would be to kind of start from there and then kind of build backward into a bigger analysis of the thing. That ultimately didn't go anywhere. I think the editors who were awesome, but the editors of that series and I had just a different sense of what that would look like and mean. So it kind of went on the shelf for a little while until MIT put out a call. Or there was a little bit of social media chatter of, is anyone working on a book on Magic the Gathering? And there's just straight up not a monograph, right? There's not a single author monograph of one person kind of taking a big swing to talk about the thing. I'd done it. I'd already finished, or maybe I hadn't finished. I was rounding home base on the Assassin's Creed book, which is similarly big and weird and unwieldy. And I think that all of that work in the kind of public eye made me feel confident that I could be wrong and it would be okay. Magic is big. It's huge. It's 30 plus years of stuff. If you talk to 5 different people, they're going to tell you 5 different thoughts and ideas about what Magic even is.
I mean, you could do the person and place thing within, you could do this 1999 whatever and talk about a block and probably
you could do a whole book on Rosewater.
100%.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Mark Rosewater gets his own chapter in the book.
Yeah,
that's as far as I went. And that initially wasn't meant to be that. And I just started working on it and it just kept ballooning up, right? Because he is this, he is a unique human being in the history of anything, right? He's like a walking Coca-Cola bottle. And I don't mean that negatively. I just mean he is someone who stands in for product, right? He is a human being who communicates the thoughts and feelings of a $1 billion brand on his Tumblr.
Yeah.
Right? He's bizarre in terms of the way that he is. Yeah.
I don't think there's a comparable game designer, just straight from maybe Sid Meier, if Sid Meier was more public in communications about civilization, which is for various reasons not the case. But I can't think of a comparable. Maybe Hideo Kojima is the stand-in kind of is the product in a sense or
Yeah.
in a different sense, is the product type of position, but also like within a giant company, right? As like Wizards and then Hasbro and all that.
Yeah.
But like as if you could email Kojima a question and he would answer it next week on his
Right.
weekly article, right?
I mean, you should look at Blogatalk. The dude sometimes is answering 15 questions a day.
Right,
Like, it's
yeah.
just wild. You know, like what he's up to. So anyway, point
Yeah.
being is like,
Yeah.
I had a little bit of, I have enough, I hopefully, I don't know, maybe other people feel differently than this, but like my thought is like, I'm humble enough to know that I'm going to write the thing and I'll write a thing that is descriptive of Magic and takes interesting angles on it and kind of explains the different huge, massive stone pillars of what the game is, with the hope that someone else will point out all the things I got wrong or talk about how I misinterpreted or you know, kind of rethink it. You know, the way I conceive of the book is it is a cultural analysis and history book. It is about what is Magic, what does it do for certain segments of people, how does it function as a game. And I'll be honest, like the book takes some big weird swings. And in the initial peer review, and what I'm about to say is going to sound really like negative, and it isn't, but one of the pieces of peer review that I received, which is very reasonable, but it said, it is not possible to write this book. It said, this is a great proposal. I don't think anyone can do this. And there's a little bit of, I would say, academic bet hedging, right? Which is like...
Yeah, like what context? Because it's like, oh, Magic is still ongoing, so you can't write about it because it's still ongoing. Or
yeah,
Magic is a frivolous game, no one cares. Like what? So what was the context for that comment?
The context in the critique there is, it is impossible. I interpreted it as, this is not being said, I interpreted that as, it is impossible to have, with such a big game,
Right.
that is so different for so many people, it is impossible to have a kind of rigor that we would expect to do it. And so what you need to do is slice it into its parts. And I think that ultimately, if you do that, for a game like Magic, you lose a huge amount of the interconnectedness. I think that someone has to do a book this way. And I just happened to be a person who had a proposal that was ready at a time when MIT Press was looking for a book. And I think I'm qualified to do it, right? Like I've written a lot for Magic for a lot of different
100%.
audiences, right? So,
Yeah.
But it's a risky thing. And so, all the way back to the question, right? You know, apologies for this is a very range touch answer that I've given. That's a full 10 minutes long. But like, the reality is like, I don't think I'm ready. I don't think anyone is ready. I think a lot of people are right to be skeptical that like the thing can exist. I feel relatively confident that people are going to find it really interesting. I've found it really fun to write, and I think it has taken me longer to write than any of the other books. The Assassin's Creed book was relatively quick, all told. Even though it's 280 something pages, I think, all in. I'm finishing up the page proofs right now, so it's pretty long, right? It's like 90,000 words or something. But yeah, I think the Magic book I've learned, I think, more about more different things than I have for anything else I've ever worked on, because the critique was correct. You do have to know a lot about a lot of different sectors, right, in order to kind of do it. And it's kind of stealth turned into, last thing I'll say about it, it is stealth turned into a book about management and about the history of management, because I believe that the history of Magic the Gathering is the history of neoliberal managerial practices.
I believe that, considering especially like the time period, early 90s of its starting, if you know, the game for the end of history kind of thing.
The curation of the golden goose
or like the maintenance of
I meant more like
keeping a fire alive, basically.
Yeah.
And that Fire Prince money.
Discovering the core, the core model of like, oh, the booster pack as a financial model and doing whatever you think is necessary in order to keep that going, basically.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Big weird distributed teams, right?
Sure.
You know, from day one, and of course they did not invent this, right? I mean, TSR had already been doing a lot of this, and magazines do it, right? Like this is not unique to Magic, but it is interesting how their art pipeline from the very beginning was, we will contract a lot of independent artists, we will pay them very little money.
Right.
And after the initial success, part of what you're paid for when you work on Magic, and the money is still not good. I mean, if you know anything about the finances there, it's not great for Magic art. But part of the thing is like part of your payment is that you're involved in Magic the Gathering.
Right.
And like now that's part of your thing, right? I think payments for pieces of art are still sitting around like $1,000. Like it's not a lot of money.
That's
Don't quote me. That is not a definitive statement. I believe that. I don't have my notes in front of me, but I believe that it's still sitting around that, right? And original art, is part of the thing still because you still own your thing, and some of those go for a lot of money. Although I think the rules around that is changing post Marvel. I haven't done my re-up on that piece of it yet, but yeah, so anyway, that's a long answer to the thing of like, I was not ready. I was in a good position to already have a proposal written and a really strong idea of what I thought the book should be when someone came around asking for who's working on the book.
Yeah.
So.
No, that makes sense. I appreciate the idea that like putting together a book is not necessarily being like, I'm the one that has all the answers and I'm going to put this thing out there. It's me saying, this is my feeling on the thing. If you want to write a book in response to it, go right ahead. This is part of the conversation. It's not the end of a conversation.
Yeah.
I think
and also, like, when would you even decide, like, when is the right time to write about Magic, right? Because it might, if it's still going in 20 years, like, it probably would have been nice to know what people thought about it now, or even 5 or 10 years after it started, beyond forum posts and, random comments or whatever, right?
I'm glad you're bringing it up because that is part of it, I think, for me in terms of why I was ready to jump on what it needed to be and knowing I had to learn a whole lot about lots of different things, right? Like I've read every issue of The Duelist, right? And I'm collecting all the issues of Sideboard, right? And like there's a lot of, just to be totally blunt, there's a lot of money in this project.
Right.
Like I've had to do a lot of work to assemble a lot of archival stuff that I will do something with in the end. I'm not going to sit on it forever, right? When I'm done. And weirdly enough, I started this before like the Video Game History Foundation started their magazine and stuff, right? Like this thing predates some of the things that would have made my life easier. Halfway through this, all of the Duelists got scanned and put on Reddit. Like, and I was just like, oh my God, like I wish this had happened before. But yeah, I mean, your point there too around like you need something to mark time, right? Like you need something to periodize it. And I will say that my book is kind of what I would consider to be a pre-Commander book, which sounds a little bit weird, but I would say that all of the biggest moves that I'm going to highlight and talk through in that book are kind of before the game transformed from a 1v1 competitive format into this weird like social board game kind of thing that it is, right? Like obviously that'll be in the book, but I do think I am already thinking exactly what you're saying of this periodization, right? Of like what needs to be said about this thing. And the other side of that too, and I don't mean this, I feel like I've said a lot of, I don't mean this negatively, and I don't mean this negatively, but when academics and scholars choose to be a little bit more narrow in their interests, number one, it narrows the audience because there are fewer people who want to read a book about magic from 1997 to 2000, as much as I would be really interested in that 200-page deep dive. Mm-hmm. That's a little bit of a harder sell for the book for someone for the holidays or whatever, which I think that my book can be the book for someone for the holidays. And number two, it's exactly what you just said, Nick, which is that you leave history up to and you leave a periodization of culture up to decaying forums, dying websites, the good grace of the Internet Archive. While I've been working on this book, Wizards of the Coast changed the Magic website and removed, 2/3 of the articles, 3/4 of the articles, like a huge amount. Yeah, thankfully, people have been backing them up. There's like a GitHub repository, but if you don't know to look for that, right, then how would you know? So literally, I was writing a chapter and went to look at one of the links again. It was like in my little bookmark folder, and it didn't exist. Yes, it was like last summer, I think is when maybe 2 summers ago is when that happened. So there's a real kind of thing there. And then what you're left with is really passionate fan works. And I think fan works are great, that like they are part of the culture. You need them. I'm reading a huge number of fan works in order to kind of work on this book. Same thing with the Assassin's Creed book. But really passionate fan works are not the same thing as kind of scholastic history and scholarly appreciation, right? Like I went to school for a long time to learn how to write about these things and kind of historically package them. That doesn't mean I'm the expert, but it does mean I'm an expert.
Yeah,
right?
you have
Like,
training.
in the same way that anyone who spends 10 years doing anything has a good sense of it. And, you know, I think you can look at, I'm trying to find the kindest way to say this. If you only learn video game history, for example, by reading fan works, you end up with an incredibly partial and perhaps damaging view of the history of video games, right? So like, you know, the common fan story about what happened with Nintendo. How did Nintendo reverse the video game crash, right? That's all fake, right? Like any kind of investigation will tell you it was an investment strategy. They had a one-to-one return policy for anything you didn't sell, which increased business confidence, right? Like there's an incredibly boring micro and macroeconomic history for why kids in the United States grew up with Nintendos, right? And why the Atari failed or whatever, right? But the fan story of that is like Super Mario Brothers was just so damn
just so good.
just so good, right?
That
And
jump
like
is
even
just
really
perfect.
good histories. That's right. The jump, the run button, right? Like all those things. And again, that does not mean that I am the expert, and I'm not an expert on video game history at all. Like that is not my lane. I've the only academic publication that I've ever like bailed on mid-writing was a history, I've talked about this before, but it was a history of science fiction games because I started writing it and realized I was not qualified to do it. And just like spun out over it. I just had like a really bad time with trying to figure out how to do it over and over and over again and just realized I couldn't, you know, I just didn't have the expertise for it. And so, yeah, I'm not the expert, but I do think that like there is a value to what we do in academia. There's a value to scholarly methods, and I think we should defend those methods and we should talk about them. You know, Homestuck Made This World, the show I did with Michael, half of that thing is just defending the way that we talk about things. And maybe that's right, and maybe that's wrong. But I think that they're really valuable. And I dove on the Magic book because I'm wary about the history of Magic only being told in one way. And I'm hoping, in the cultural kind of context of Magic only being told in one way, I'm hoping that writing a big monograph that maybe gets some stuff wrong or opens up a lot of doors for conversations like you're saying, Brendan, I hope that will provide the opportunity for other people to write better books on Magic that are more clarifying and more specific. And to push it forward, because that's what the Beyond the Decks book does too, right? Like it's a really good... If you're interested in just like a bunch of scholarly approaches to the way that Magic works, that's a great volume. I would encourage people to check that out too.
I think that's something that I've kind of, or the idea that the imperfectness of a book is something I've really like, I don't know, like kind of gotten comfortable with over the past several years. A big part of that, listening to Game Study Buddies, but also like getting more comfortable reading more academic books and going like, what am I reading this book for? Because I am not going to go to school. I'm not going to pursue a doctorate. I'm not going to be in the dumbass contention.
That's right.
The 2030 dumbass contention. So what do I want? You know, like part of it is just like, well, I'm interested in the craft of game design and the construction of games and all that. And so many game design books, I was just like, this is wrong. Like, this is not like, no, like I disagree with this. This is not how I see like how games work, or really, and probably like a big impetus for literally this show is, oh, you're really only caring about video games, huh? So it's not like there's 18 other different types of games that we could be discussing or interactive play or whatever. And so the idea that like a book couldn't capture the whole of a thing is like, well, yeah, of course, like that it kind of goes without saying. And so, you know, I'll read the Magic book. I don't think I would have opinions on what it's missing because I don't play Magic and I don't know the history, but I'll read other books and be like, well, okay, you know, this isn't quite doing it for me as far as like this aspect of theory or like, you know, here's how to design a game. It's like, well, I don't know. I can pull different things out of this, but yeah, that doesn't seem like the idea of a completeness. Completeness is not a like prerequisite for a book, and I wonder I guess just to what degree like reviewers or editors kind of assume that it will, or readers, I guess. I don't know. I guess the expectation seems like it might be all over the place on what people expect out of here's a book about Magic the Gathering or a book about Assassin's Creed or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I got feedback on the Assassin's Creed book fairly, I guess the full feedback, or the first full draft I turned in. I got feedback that was, because at that time, I think there were 15 mainline games. That book is only about the mainline games of the series, like third-person action games, right? So like, I don't do this 2D side-scrollers. I talk about the comic books a little bit, but only, it really is about specifically the games in a very particular way. And some of them get like full chapters, right, where you talk about them. And some of them don't get anything at all. And so I got some feedback in that was like, well, you really give short shrift. I'm doing a voice here. This was not the way it was written. It was very charitable. It was like, hey, just FYI.
This wasn't a voicemail that you got.
No, it was not a voicemail. And me doing the voice makes it sound like this is a bad comment. It was not. It was a good comment. It was really helpful. The reviewer said, hey, this is a book that says it's about the Assassin's Creed franchise. In the book, there are 2 sentences about Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. If someone wants to know about Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, there won't be anything in there for them. So what do you do about that? And it was kind of an open thing.
Yeah,
and that's a very fair comment. Yeah. And like in my mind, I would never in my life assume that a like decade plus franchise with 15 games that every game would get the full thing. But that's a reasonable expectation. Like I don't think that's like my thought was never even entered my mind that would be a thing.
Yeah.
But of course, if you're just picking this book up, you might think, oh, every game has a chapter, for example. So I had to write a little thing at the beginning. It's like this is an analytic book. It kind of talks about broad themes and it dives into certain games, but not all the games, all that kind of stuff. And so I mean, again, I think the comment that I got on the Magic book proposal, I think it's a reasonable comment for sure, right? But much like you, Nick, like I don't know. I think ultimately that perspective is an academic one, and it's an academic one that's attached to what is ultimately academia's very like weird set of perverse incentives of, again, kind of mastery, engagement with a hyper specific topic that you kind of own and is your thing, right? And I've been wrong enough in public to just be okay with, someone having some criticism of that, right? And I think that again, to be clear, I think the comment was coming from a place of like deep charity of saying,
it's going to be like, hey,
you should linearize.
Somebody's going to be standing in Barnes and Noble and pick up this Assassin's Creed book and then go, oh, I'd love to learn about all the Assassin's Creed games because I'm a fan.
Or Brotherhood was the last one they played, and so they turned to that chapter.
Yeah. Well, Brotherhood, probably the most popular of them all. Maybe I don't know. I guess maybe not recently, but certainly up in the top half of popularity of.
I think it's the most popular of the
games.
Ezio games. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people just love that game for reasons that I really and truly will never be able to understand or intuit. But as someone who has like put my thousands of hours into these games,
people love Borgias.
I think
they love multiplayer.
Yeah, they love the arcade game part of it, right? Which is like the thing I find the least interesting, and that's okay. It's all kinds of different. Look, there's more than 2 sentences about it now. There's a full 10 or something.
Oh, I thought you wrote the third one like live right now.
Putting it right in right now.
Yeah.
No, I think a lot about the GDC after I had to look the book up after Robert Jackson's book on BioShock came out. Robert Jackson's like
familiar with this book.
Yeah, it's like an early Zero book. And Robert was I don't think he's in academia anymore, but Robert was a speculative realist kind of person. And so the book is called BioShock: Decision, Forced Choice, and Propaganda. And it's a really interesting book that is about like how do games function, how do game narratives, and how do narratives broadly, how do they function as propaganda? And could there be a useful theory of propaganda for people who don't shy away from that term? So it's an interesting book. It's fairly long. It probably is the longest thing ever written about BioShock, I have to say. But I remember really clearly the year after it came out, someone at GDC picking it up at some vendor table and posting screenshots of the introduction. And I'd read the book. I read the book, I think, the week it came out because I knew Robert a little bit, and I was really excited to read it. I think it's from like 2014 or something like that.
Yes, 2014.
Yeah. 2014. And so anyway, there was someone on the BioShock 2 development team, and in the intro to that book, it says,
"Oh wow."
This is about the intro to the book says, this is about BioShock 1 and BioShock Infinite. BioShock 2 doesn't have anything interesting to say about these things, and was not made by the same people, so I don't care about it. It was a little more friendly than that.
Yeah, but not in so many words. Yeah.
Not in so many words, but that's the core of it, because Robert really is just like looking at the text and is kind of thinking about this kind of auteurist-ish perspective coming out of Irrational in Boston, whatever. I'm critical of that, I think. But I just remember them posting those screenshots or those pictures that they took, and they were like, what the fuck? Like, why would someone do that? And it was a really interesting moment of like, I can absolutely understand the academic decision to do this, because it's a moment where you cut to be more specific, right? Like, you just cut things out of your corpus so that you can make your arguments much sharper by not having to deal with the thing that really complicates them. This is also maybe more complicated by me, because I think that BioShock 2 is the most interesting one of those games by far, by like an infinite amount of distance. An infinite amount of distance. Right? But they were just like profoundly disappointed. And I remember all these devs being like, what the fuck? I can't believe someone wrote this book about what we do and just like cut all our stuff out. So like, I'm sensitive to that question about like, how much do you cover specific things? And even like, how do you cover things that where that a criticism of that could be hurtful or feel like an attack to people you care about? And like, that's come up for the past, ever since I've started writing on games, right?
Yeah.
Because I know lots of people who are developers, and sometimes I've written really negative things about stuff that people I know have worked on, because in the interest of being honest about those things and being asked to review it or whatever. Right. And that's like been really negative sometimes. That has not worked out always. And so I'm really sensitive to that in the academic context. And I'm also really sensitive to that because once the academic book is out there, it becomes kind of it
has an authority to it because it's an
canon,
book, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so those are real things, but also like Mark Rosewater is a very weird figure, and I'm not gonna, in any way be, dissimulate about that reality. Right. So there's a weird kind of thing going on with that too, around these issues of what goes in, what goes out.
Well, how would you describe the Assassin's Creed book if you couldn't say it's if it's a book about Assassin's Creed? Because it sounds like you could frame it in a way of like, I'm going to look at the Assassin's Creed games, a weird sci-fi historical, conspiracy theory game with like literal aliens and devils and all sorts of stuff. I'm going to use these games to talk about something else.
Yeah.
What is that something else for you? Because not every game is going to talk about the something else that you're interested in, that the argument that you're like constructing. Which is why you're skipping Brotherhood, because the Borgias don't fall into the criteria. And so I wonder if it's like, if it feels like if you, not to say you're doing it wrong, I'm just saying like if you kind of mentally just reordered the argument, if you like flip the signs here, you get the like, oh, okay, here's what the book is about. It's not about Assassin's Creed. It's the Assassin's Creed games kind of outproduce this sort of weird description of the world or argument or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, we went back and forth on this, and this is what you're also asking is like, how did you describe this book on the back of it? Because that really is the question, right? Because like once someone's in on the book, you get to read my like 40-page intro that works through this all in a lot of detail, and like pulls on the other people who have done it. And a quick shout out, by the way, Scott Bukatman's book on Hellboy. Perfect. Chef's kiss on this, right? If you enjoy Hellboy, you enjoy comic books, you even are familiar with those things, reading Scott Bukatman's book on Hellboy, which is kind of what Everything is Permitted, which is my Assassin's Creed book. It's kind of what it's not patterned on, I guess, but I read that book as part of like the prep for Everything is Permitted, and I was like, this is kind of how you do it. Which is to say that, like, exactly as you just said, Nick, like the game is this kind of like weird set of processed arguments about the world we live in, and it's adapting things that from the world kind of allegorically that we have, and it's processing it through a video game, but then it's also kind of pushing those things back out and making its own arguments that are kind of mutated from the real world. And if we pay attention to these games, we can see how the world we live goes into it, and then what comes out again. And on the back of the book, we described it this way. I'm just going to read the text. The book examines key themes and concepts that connect the games in the series, combining close readings of the games themselves with discussion of the broader landscape of video game franchises since its initial release. I uncover what it means for a game to be part of the Assassin's Creed franchise. I map the elements that contribute to the immersiveness and continual playability of the games, showing how historically inflected conspiracies and science fictional premises ground the fantastical stories the games tell on a massive scale. And so I hopefully that gets at it, because the book really is about what is the scale that Assassin's Creed operates on, and what are the kind of fixations of the franchise itself. And then occasionally we'll dive into specific games in order to kind of get some real fine detail on that. But a full half of the book is talking about multiple games in individual chapters, So I don't know. Does that kind of answer the question?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's just like...
Yeah.
Because you could say, like, well, this BioShock book is now not a book about BioShock. It's a book about propaganda in games.
It is, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is conveniently only using 2 of the 3 BioShock games to talk about that, which is it's harder to sell that, of course. Like at the end of the day, you want people to give you money for the book, and they'll probably give you more money if it's just like a little bit quippier on it's about Assassin's Creed, it's about magic or whatever. I guess magic is probably a little bit more complete in like, no, this is about magic. It's we will talk about other things, but you're not, well, correct me, I guess if I'm wrong, you're not going to skip like 10 years out of convenience for a specific argument.
No.
You tell me.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I hope. Well, we'll see how the final book comes out, where I'm just like, I don't know, 1997 to 2007, I don't know. Yeah. So I think we're good. But yeah, I mean, you know, that's part of the thing, and that, this is something. I mean, you've been doing those dev diaries, right, for your past 2 games you've worked on, right? And like, this is something you're doing all the time, which is how do I take the big muddy mess that is game design, right? This kind of like muddling through, and how do I linearize that into a particular kind of form that like might appeal? And I think what's tricky about writing an academic book that theoretically kind of anyone could pick up and enjoy is like, you have to do that same process, but with reality. And then you have to think about like, who are your 4 audience segments who like might want to read it, right? And so, it's the reason I say that is like the formative questions at the bottom are kind of like, just baseline writing process things, but the way that those get processed into the book are kind of different, because every page I have to read with kind of 2 or 3 different people in mind. And some of those pages don't end up with 3 or 4 people in mind, right? Some of those pages are written for one kind of person, right?
Spike or Johnny.
And it's really... No. It's like written for Michael Lutz or for no. I mean, some of that, but also, I will say that it's interesting. Once you get to a certain point of an academic book, you don't have to fight anymore, because everyone who kind of could have stopped you you've already appeased them. You know what I mean? So like, you pitch the proposal, someone could stop you then, right? Someone could be like, this should never happen. So like, someone could stop you.
This is an affront to nature itself.
Yeah, right. And like, that didn't happen with the Magic book, but someone did have like a big, hey, now you need to think about it. And I had to write like a thoughtful response to it. And and that's reasonable.
And it's a useful exercise anyway, because that, to me, it would help like organize my thoughts and like, well, why, maybe I do actually need to think for a second on why this should exist. And that can be productive.
Yeah, and the tone is like really tricky and interesting, right? I got a really robust set of feedback for the Assassin's Creed book, for the proposal and a few drafts, and I received that feedback, and I had to write like a letter in response to go to the editorial board so they could evaluate the responses to the book with my letter. And I had to go back and forth a couple times with my editor, because I just had no idea how to write that. Like, who is the audience? What does that mean? Should it be kind of defensive sounding? Should it be like, in the sense of like, these are the arguments you made, here's how I respond? Should it be more capacious? Here's the answer, by the way. It should not be defensive sounding. It should be very capacious and like friendly. I don't know. But yeah, you actually shouldn't respond line by line to every criticism made to you. Who knows? But so I don't remember how I got started talking about that.
We're talking about writing for different audiences within a single book.
Oh yeah. So point being, so in the Assassin's Creed book, for example, like there's a chapter on history and how historians and kind of historically inflected game studies folks talk about the like history tour. Like sections of Odyssey and Origins and all that.
Where they like kind of run you around the environments with little like nodes about here's how the pyramids are built or whatever, right?
Well, they're all very different, actually. So that's a thing that, that I go through in the book is like, that's
game
how
to
the
game
Origins.
They're different.
Game to game, they're different.
Valhalla has a little story. Like you're a guy.
Yeah, Valhalla is like you die and go to Valhalla. Like you go to heaven.
Okay.
That's like the last thing. It's like, it's like
okay.
really interesting. Yeah.
Interesting.
Those are really interesting. And, so then I like dug through the information that they have. So Maxime, I'm not French. Durand, I think is his last name, was the head of those projects for a long time. And he was like their historical attaché for a while before that. And, he's very evocative about like how you use these in schools and how you do all that kind of stuff. And then you like look at the actual data that Ubisoft has produced in conjunction with, I think French Canadian high school students, then you start being like, I don't know if these are like educational in any kind of way. Like, and so then I dig into like the kind of historical representation information. Right. And so like, hopefully that chapter is the kind of thing where like someone who is familiar with historical reenactments or the ideas there, right? They're like, oh, that's kind of how these work, but kind of they're not. Or people who are familiar with like watching Saving Private Ryan as a historical representation. Like, oh, they're kind of like this. And it's kind of about education. So I try to provide for both the Magic book and the Assassin's Creed book, I'm trying to provide a lot of different angles in that are not like, did you read this one theorist that I care about?
Right.
Yeah.
And I've written that book too, right? There's 20 pages of Miyasu in that, science fiction book. And in the first draft, there were 40 pages and they made me cut it out. And I forever, I will never, when edition 2 comes out, I'm restoring my 20 pages of Miyasu.
The director's cut of The World is Born from Zero. Yeah.
Just more philosophical noodling with no examples. Just like talking about like a pamphlet a guy wrote in like 2012.
As the reader not familiar with Miyasu, I appreciate the cut.
Well, that's what they all said, and they were wrong, and that's okay. Audiences can be wrong.
By the time the second edition comes out, you'll be fully.
That's true. I'll be caught up. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And, hopefully that book works too, where you can be like, I don't care about this, and just skip to the example chapters, and they kind of still work. So, I guess, the one thing I wanted to say about that too, it was really interesting to get the copy editing feedback back because copy editor was awesome, really great. It helped me messed up some inverted commas in a few places. It was like really helpful stuff. I don't speak Arabic, and some of my copy pasting was wrong for making sure I got the things right. So like really good stuff. But what was really interesting is all the voice stuff. In terms of like my writerly voice, a lot of that was being cut and edited out. And a lot of it was like intro language of that I know is effective and useful because people... I've written for public audiences.
So they came out of like blogging or whatever.
They click your articles and they read them.
Right. They do that, but also just being like, hey, remember the thing we talked about before? It's here again, and we're talking about it a different way, which reads repetitively. Like I know that for a fact. But I also know for a fact that in good old-fashioned public writing, tell them what you're going to tell them. Tell them what you told them, right? And like you were weirdly in all of my academic publishing, this has come up consistently of like, you need to cut all that out. And sometimes you have to, but in this book, I did not. I like kept it all in. And so, because I think it's more friendly, and doesn't require you to like keep a big, weird theoretical math problem in your head for 40 pages, which I myself have issues doing. So,
that's a good way to describe how I feel sometimes when I, my attention is wandering or whatever, and I'm reading something academic or difficult. It is like you're rotating a 8-dimensional cube in your head, trying to get to the point. Not get to the point sounds way meaner, but just like, okay, where is this going? Like, what is this doing?
I mean,
reading,
most
reading Jim
arguments,
Wolfe or whatever.
yeah, right. Like most arguments have like 4 or 5 if-thens, or like if-then therefores, right? That are implicit in the thing. And you could make those explicit in academic writing. And, you know, we've done, I don't know, 70 something books, 60 something. I don't know how many episodes of Game Study Buddies there are, right? But it's very clear to me when someone is invested in that, in like that process of bringing someone along, and when they're not. And part of it, I think, you know, this is me just being like a foolish human in the world. But if you listen to that show, you can often hear Michael and I like loving writing from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Like anytime that we read a book from that, we're like, hell yeah, this rules. Why is that? And I think part of it is like there's a lot of under-considered cool arguments that come out of that time period. You know, the Racer book that we just did, I think is really cool and interesting. The C.L.R. James, of course, Beyond the Boundary, the Buckles dissertation, like a lot of the stuff that we've gone back from that prehistory of game studies, I think has been really cool. Brenda Laurel's Computer Games as Theater, I think that's part of that too. Very readable book. But I think part of it is, you know, I'm skeptical of what I'm about to say, but I think it is in some ways true. Academic writing is sometimes impenetrable, and it is not conceptual, and very rarely vocabulary. It is literal editorial style. I think we are encouraged to write, not in terms of terminology. Anyone can read any kind of terminology as long as you tell them what the words mean, right? Like, like every job on earth has shorthand, right? But it's not providing a kind of continual on-ramp that I think is the issue. I think it's an editorial issue, not actually a writerly problem for the most part. So for these books, I try to keep the on-ramps coming. And I don't know, people have read The World is Born from Zero and said it is readable. And
I've told you directly, like, there are I think I thanked you for the amount of on-ramps there are to just the, you know, I don't know about a lot of this, so.
Yeah, good. I'm glad to hear it, right?
Yeah.
Like you know, that's important to me. And so I think, you know, academia and scholarly production is like, it is a world sadly often of perverse incentives, and I say this all the time. And some of those don't encourage us to like do some other thing. And frankly, right, I've said this quite often too, right? Like at the end of the day, the kind of thing that we do, which is like knowledge production and thinking about interesting things in the world. I think on my best days, that's what I'm doing. And then when I'm teaching, I'm doing that with a group of people. And when I'm working with my lab, I'm doing that with a smaller group of people, all this kind of stuff. That cannot live in academia, right? Like there's just no benefit to that living for a select group of less than 30% of people who would ever even think about accessing, let alone actually be able to access it, right? Like that just can't be where it lives, right? I've been the huge beneficiary of, I was very lucky very early to kind of find out about DIY publishing and things like that. And so like I've maintained a wide trade in zines and self-published random stuff for a long time. And actually the Miyasu, the extra science fiction pamphlet that I like so much is kind of that. It's, you know, these academic folks who like produce small scale stuff, I think is where it initially came out. And so like that to me is like longevity. That to me is like where the thing is. And so hopefully these books enter into, you know, an economy kind of like that, of like human beings who just want to think and learn and engage with stuff and maybe tell me I'm wrong. Maybe blurb the book. Who knows?
Hell yeah.
That's very fair.
All right. Great up.
Yeah. Yeah, that might be it.
That doesn't have to be it. I just monologued about my book the whole time, Nick.
No, that's good.
I'm sorry. I don't play Magic. I don't have anything else to. I'm kidding. No, I'm not kidding. I don't play Magic, but I would love to. I think I told Brendan this. I would love to play Magic, but not learn Magic. If that makes sense. Like I don't want to, I would, it's a great game. Don't want to keep up with it. Don't want to go find people. I went to one Friday Night Magic once and it was the most like socially destructive experience of my life. Well, top 5 socially destructive experience of my life. And I was like,
not laughing. I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at like the pitch perfect, you know, nightmare of it.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I learned a lot about myself. And then I played Netrunner for a while.
Netrunner rules. What a great... Someone needs to do it.
So good.
I really wish that someone would do that book. That's That'd good. Be good. And also, it's kind of over, you know, or at least it's current.
Yeah, that's at least
there's the fan-made stuff, right?
Yeah, talk about fan labor.
Yeah, right? Yeah. That's real stuff.
Yeah.
That's all cool. Yeah, I would love for someone to do the deep dive on that.
Nick, we should...
Talking about the socially...
Oh, no, go ahead.
just the socially destructive part, that is, you were talking earlier about things in Magic, Brendan, I think of like, what could be a whole book,
right?
Nick, I think you said, like 1 year, invasion block could be a whole book,
Absolutely.
Right? Just talking about dynamics in a game store. And I have read a lot of that. There is a lot of kind of sociological inflected game studies work on that, I would say. That's one of the few topic areas I think is actually fairly well covered, but it mostly just produces the kind of arguments that you would predictably find, which is like, hey, it's not great out there.
No.
And so the lens is not particularly, I haven't found too many articles that have like given me something I wouldn't have known already, just intuitively from being there.
I would love a book or something on the ways people have come together to play games, because I think it was Fine's Shared Fantasy where he describes they played in the basement they played D&D in the basement of a police station, which is one of the most outlandish situations that you could play Dungeons and Dragons with, I think to most people's like modern kind of like conception. But people have been playing games in spaces all over, in like a game store and the police station and the game store and the library could be. I would love a book on that.
I think you said that your book leaves off before the emergence of Commander/Brawl as like, which is absolutely fair. But I am looking forward to whoever takes on that project, as someone that was like really big into Magic and then took basically like an 8-year break and then came back to discover that Elder Dragon Highlander had been absorbed and turned into the dominant model of how people engage with the game was really, really fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, I continue the kind of like analysis of the game up to basically to Magic 30. I would say is kind of where it ends in terms of it's just impossible to keep updating. I mean, that's the trickiness of these franchise books, right? Or these like big scale books is literally in between. Since I have turned the Magic or the Assassin's Creed book in, 2 games have come out.
Right.
2 whole games have come out.
Like 150-hour games.
Yes, yes. And so for Mirage, Mirage was about to come out. I think I turned the book in initially the summer before Mirage came out. And so I literally just made a thing in brackets. And I was like, I'm going to write 900 words about Mirage here in the conclusion, just to acknowledge that it exists.
Right.
Like that, that's as much as that. But then Shadows has come out since I've been done with it entirely. So that's the trickiness. And similarly with Commander, right? Like it'll continue up through the Commander era, but there is not like its own, it doesn't get its own chapter. And where Commander shows up in the book so far is really just like, how did the game warp and change some of its narrative constraints, or how did its competitive constraints, how did those change in response to it? But I don't think it's like I think the book can be big. I don't think it's responsible if I like try to
I
like
completely
do the
agree,
Commander,
right?
Because it's a different game, right?
Yeah, it deserves its own book.
And that's part of the. Hopefully, someone's writing that, or hopefully someone
is inspired to write.
Has wind that I'm doing this. Yeah, and I know that there's someone right now who's writing a kind of like extensive history of the Pro Tour in a book about competitive Magic specifically. So that's great. I'm looking forward to reading that when it comes out.
I want to shout out Bruno Diaz's blog series. On the meta game of Magic, and it's basically block by block, or kind of like period by period, I guess.
Essential reading.
Yeah, it's like year of Pro Tours by year of Pro Tours. Right?
And it kind of, and then at some point he like hits Commander and he like rewinds and kind of threads it back from sort of the origins, and then it kind of metastasizes into all of modern Magic.
Yeah, that's a cool series. I've read probably, I don't know, like the first few of those. And then I'm just reading the sideboard magazines where it's covered originally, which is also weird. Also, by the way, Mark Rosewater, that's where he came from. Mark Rosewater came from the Duelist magazine. That's how he entered the Magic.
I didn't know that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like some of those early Pro Tours were just entirely organized by him. Like it was like just him just making it happen. He is the one who wrote the like play-by-play reports to be published in the thing. Oh yeah, he was editor of the Duelist for a while. Pretty sure editor. But yeah, there's a way it could just be a book on Mark Rosewater, right? Yeah, like his thumbprints are all over it, and I don't know they're kind of setting Gavin Verhey up as the kind of successor, but I I don't think it is in the best interest of any corporation to have like just purely cynical business brain. I think it's a huge weird error to have like a random human being representing you and like making statements that then you have to like go back and respond to because it's not what your corporation said, which is really weird. We've seen that with the secret layer stuff.
I mean, that's what makes it
beyond.
Yeah, that's what makes it so Magic, I mean, so fascinating because, like, well, Commander has been run by the player council, sort of, but then, like, but then Wizards puts out the card, and so it has weird overlapping domains of authority or control or whatever.
This is exactly why it's kind of a stealth book on the history of management, right? And the history of neoliberal practices broadly, right? The transformation of the neoliberal economies, because I do not believe, and I could be wrong, but as far as I'm aware, there is not a single innovation in Magic. I mean, game design there is, like in terms of mechanics, but in terms of the way that they communicate with audiences and the way that they pull things into the product, there is not a single thing that has not been trial ballooned somewhere else, and often by an independent contractor before then being pulled into the actual product, right? And Commander being the most recent example of that, of an independent agency or an independent group of people, not even an agency, a group of people that have fully produced and market tested, right? They have proved that it has legs, right? And they've brought it in. And you can see also where that's failed, right? Think about Tiny Leaders, for example, as a community driven. Yeah, I have no idea what this is. Tiny Leaders is like is Commander but smaller mana costs. Was that the right thing, Brendan? Do you remember?
Something like that, yeah.
It was a trial balloon thing.
They've tried stuff like this over and over and over again. There was
so instead of a commander being like 6 or 8 total, and it was like 4 or something, and so you get your guy out sooner. Is the
all cards? Sorry, I'm looking at the rules. Yeah, all cards must have a mana value of 3 or less. So it is commander. It is commander with 25 life and.
Okay, so like
it's kind of a precursor to Brawl, actually,
like a speed commander kind of thing. Okay.
Yep. And I think that it was never DCI sanctioned, so it was pushed, and then it failed, and then it was not brought into the product. Like it's it's this is, I think, the maneuver of, as you said, right, the historical era into which it emerges is one of risk averse external development, right? Like it's the consultancy era. And so that all gets kind of run through in the book. I've read I'm going to hold it up for you because it's a big book and it's worth doing. The Visible Hand, it's going to be reversed for you. I'll read it out loud. The Visible Hand, the Managerial Revolution in American Business by Alfred D. Chandler Jr., which won the Pulitzer Prize and the Bancroft Prize. It was a huge book. I think in the 80s is when this book came out. 1977.
This is a businessy look. It visually looks like a very businessy. You're in first class reading this book.
No, this is like,
gosh. Whoa.
This is like you read the New Yorker and you want to be able to talk shit to business people. Like that's what this book is.
Cameron was just holding up a flow chart of it looks like what wheat does in the market.
Flour for Man's Bread is the name. It's like a flow chart that was an industrial flow chart, like for sales folks.
I'm sorry. It sounds like a Philip K. Dick book name.
It does. Yeah. It does. And it's from Stork and Teague. I don't know what year. 1879.
Wow.
This was good for 1879.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sorry. So this is a managerial book, a New Yorker, aimed at the New Yorker reader.
Yeah. To be like, here is the history of how businesses operated and why we are seeing the emergence of what essentially gets eventually called, I don't think at this time, but eventually called the professional managerial class, right? What happened? The 70s is what Boltanski and Chiapello call the second spirit of capitalism. This idea of the corporation as its own kind of individual unit that you can pock your way out of and kind of pop into as a mid-level expert. And this is also the emergency of the consultancy era, right? Yeah. Like This is in the wake of the
private
military-industrial
equity
complex.
and yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Well, yeah, private equity comes out of even that era, right? It's what they call the third spirit of capitalism, which is if people can do that, if they can pop back in, why can't the market just do that, right? Why can't the market kind of pick and choose instances of expropriation that it wants to highlight? And then the private equity era that we live in now, like some other additional era, is okay, if you can do that, then you can treat them as not as sites for growth, right? You don't acquire companies in order to like get market share. You acquire companies in order to destroy them, in order to displace market share. So, for example, we used to have a Jo-Ann Fabric and also a Michaels. Jo-Ann Fabric is closed. I don't know if you've heard this, but Michaels has acquired the Jo-Ann Fabric brand, and all of the oils, all the oil paints and inks at my local Michaels are on sale because they're putting all the stuff in, right? That's the maneuver of private equity.
Oof.
Pull it in, strip it for parts, displace that value somewhere else, and then go and eat that one day.
Yeah.
What if the ocean were just like 9 really big sharks? Wouldn't that be fun? What if instead of like all the creatures of the sea, what if in the Little Mermaid it was just like Ursula?
Yeah.
Just roving around shocking people.
You just walk across the ocean on the backs of 2 sharks.
That's right. Anyway, so
surely
that's been
this
my
won't
life.
come back to devour me,
Yeah,
the consumer.
I don't see any problems. Yeah.
No, just a business savvy elite will emerge from the ashes, and they'll.
I feel savvier already.
Yeah.
Well, as the ideal neoliberal subject, you're going to make the optimal choices within the market you're in. So
That's exactly.
I don't
right.
think you should complain about it at all.
That's right. Stuff's bad, y'all.
Yeah.
Things are bad. And we don't have a Jo-Ann Fabric anymore. They sold the Warhammer boxes I like to use.
Well, we can't go out on it being bad. Cameron, what are you playing lately?
I've been playing Marvel Rivals.
Really? Tell me about your Marvel Rivals experience.
I'm smashing. I'm destroying.
Who's your
them
main?
on console? my main is Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl.
Okay,
That's a Wind Spear Hills for me. Squirrel Girl.
Squirrel Girl.
Mm-hmm.
Squirrel Girl.
She's unbeatable.
And that she is the unbeatable Squirrel Girl. I have heard her and Tippy Toe. That's probably my main. My number 2 is the Punisher. My number 3, Venom.
Of course.
My number 4, Mantis. From
Guardians?
of the
Yeah.
Galaxy.
Okay.
She does heal over time. I think it's objectively bad, but I like doing it.
I get it.
Heal over time never as good as just healing people. You ever realize that's a real game design issue?
This is my Guild Wars. When I played Guild Wars 1, I was a heal over time healer. Or no, maybe this was EverQuest 2. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
This was the late 2000s MMO.
Did you play you play? Were you like way into a Guild Wars 1? Was that your thing?
Guild Wars 1 was my big MMO.
Was it like level 10 when the world changed over?
Yes.
I do not remember a single thing about Guild Wars 1.
So in Guild Wars 1, there was a level where like it was kind of like the World of Ruin kind of thing, right? Where like something you beat a boss or whatever, you like leveled up.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And so I don't remember the exact details, but this is for Range Touch listeners. This is a crossover episode. This is real Cousin Jeff lore. My cousin Jeff played Guild Wars, and I would hang out with him. He would just be playing Guild Wars, and I'd just be like chilling out or whatever. In high school, I was probably playing Metal Gear Solid 2 on the PS2 while he was playing on the computer. He didn't like the way the world looked after the Cataclysm. He didn't like the
Just
stuff.
like the aesthetically, visually, or
yeah, aesthetically and visually. So he would play to level 10. It would happen. He would delete his character and just play to level 10 again.
Yeah.
Just did it over and over and over again. I don't think he ever did any kind of progression after level 10.
Just stayed in the tutorial zone the entire time.
Basically, yeah.
rules.
I don't even know how high did the levels go in that game. Was it like
I think
60?
it was 40.
I think it pushed up to 60 or 80 with all the expansions.
Yeah.
Each expansion added a bunch.
Someone didn't remember anything about Guild Wars 1 until we started talking about level progression. Interesting.
When I was a kid and I played Secret of Mana for the SNES, I refused to buy any armor. A deeply, deeply stats-driven game requires a lot of grinding. It requires new armor everywhere you go. And I refused to get new armor because I liked the way the characters looked on the box. I didn't want to change the way they looked. Now, you might ask...
It's called Fashion Souls.
Did your vision...
Did that matter?
Did your sprite change when you got a new piece of armor? No, you didn't.
No, yeah.
But I, as a tiny child, definitely thought that it would, so I didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to say that it is a little bit of the Fashion Souls thing, Nick, as you're saying, because in Final Fantasy IX, I did not like that the weapons changed when you changed weapons.
That's true.
They're all supposed to have their little starting one. I didn't care for that.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I guess.
Zidane all of a sudden has like Darth Maul butterfly sword. I'm not about that.
Now that's cool. You brought up the coolest, but you can't give the coolest example and then be like, "That's the bad one."
No. Surge from Chrono Cross is the only person that's ever allowed to have a butterfly sword. I don't want my monkey swinging that.
Never played Chrono Cross.
That's a beautiful game.
Like Knights of the Old Republic. Every headgear in Knights of the Old Republic is one of the most obscenely bad pieces of like material you could put on your body. It's very fun.
When A More Civilized Age was doing KOTOR, I tried to like go back and play it, and I can't. I like physically can't. I think the game might be bad.
I have a soft spot for those games. I'm not gonna defend.
I mean, I did too until I went back to try to play. You know, like
Sure,
I have
yeah.
profoundly like strong memories. I really like who's the Jedi woman you meet in the first game?
Bastila.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. I have really strong, cool memories of her. But and like maybe if you're evil at the end, like the Wookiee tries to murder you, does that happen at the end of that game?
I think you can force the Wookiee to kill one of the other
kill
party
mission
members as like the ultimate evil thing.
Yeah, I think I did that.
Yeah,
like in my first playthrough.
Yeah. It was my job to help make the KOTOR remake, and I was trying to play the original, and I got about 15 minutes into that, and I was like, I might just watch this on YouTube in order to learn how the original game was made instead.
You didn't even get to the basement of Telos with all the weird
I'm
flesh
good.
zombies.
That's fine. I don't.
Gaming peaked.
I don't need to re-engage with the D20 system in that particular format.
Speaking of not understanding things as a child, I could not. I had no idea what a D20 was or how it worked, and so my first runs of KOTOR were like, "This is just such a hard game. Like these numbers, like what is 9 to 12 plus 2 even mean?"
Yeah, that's the part I think I like the most about those games. And when I was replaying KOTOR, because I got maybe 5 hours in or something like that, and that's the part where I was like, this is such a good commitment. Just be like, yeah, sometimes you just don't hit anything for a long time. Or like everyone is just standing with their blasters, like dancing back and forth, and no one hits anything for like a solid 30 seconds. I was like, this is good. More games should commit to just, sometimes the dice rolls are bad and nothing good happens. I like that. But yeah, that's probably it. I started Death Stranding too, and like I can't commit.
You replayed one recently, right? Were you talking about that?
I did. I like that. I think though, I don't know if I like those games. I find those games really interesting. And when they hit, I think they really hit. Like I think that like Hartman, his whole deal, and like the science fictional kind of thing going on with Hartman in Death Stranding 1 rules. When I have to sit through 40 minutes of Die Hardman's like background explanation, the real issue with like Kojima, like Unchained, as it were, right, is that he can't help but over-explain himself.
Yes.
And that really hurts. The repetition really hurts.
Yeah.
It really hurts, I think, the final games.
There's a specific moment that Death Stranding, a game I like very much, really and truly just falls apart for me, where after in the literal 11th hour, when you've beaten the final boss and you have like figured everything out, you know everything, then you are stuck on the beach and you are running for like literally like 10 minutes, and they repeat the explanation of what everything was that happened just to make sure that you got it. And you're literally, you can't leave the beach. All you could do is run forward, and so you are forced to like sit through this. You can't even skip it the way you could skip a cutscene. Intolerable.
I have to admit, I think that rules. I think I think that is awesome. And actually, because I replayed it right before Death Stranding 2 came out, and as I was doing this, because you're right, like it's just this nightmare of sitting through the thing. I was like, this is the best decision anyone could make, to make you be like, I'm gonna listen to the slowest monologue from a character who's dead. Like a character who died. Yeah. And they're just going to explain the whole game to you again, which reasonably, right? Like if someone didn't play it all, basically, you know, whatever, in 2 weeks, like I did both times I've played it. You know, I've played it all the way through in a fairly short amount of time. I can see someone being like, all right, I need someone to put it all together for me. But yeah, I found that to be, you know, anytime anyone's just like deeply hostile to a player,
I can respect it at least.
That's where the friction comes. You know, I like that a little bit. And maybe that's just, yeah, it's just fun. It's good stuff. But no, you're right. It's like an objectively, like in terms of gameplay, some of the worst stuff ever designed. You can actually speed that up. Did you know you can speed that up? You can't skip it, but you can speed it up by so you run and you sprint and get out of breath.
Okay.
And I think to speed up a thing, you have to do it like twice.
Huh.
So you like sprint and get out of breath and then stop. And then sprint and get out of breath and stop, and it'll like bring the next section. It reduces it by like 3 minutes. It's not a huge amount.
Okay, I mean that's not nothing.
I did look it up when I was there. I looked it up. I was like,
I was hoping you were gonna tell me that he's got like a poison pill in his mouth, like in Snake Eater or something like that, and you can just opt out of it.
Oh, that Snake Eater rules!
Snake
Can't wait to see how they butcher that.
Oh my god,
it's gonna be great. Maybe that's when we'll do the Metal Gear show. I really want to do the Metal Gear Solid show. But I haven't figured out how to do it yet.
You should, because then you'll save me having to play them all so I can understand them, and I'll just play the
I've been threatening to make Nick play every single one of them.
Yeah.
They rule.
You should do it. They're good.
Yeah.
And they're pretty short. Like, that's actually, for all the, like, Kojima's cutscenes are long. Like, you know, in the stuff, the games are pretty short.
Yeah.
Like, I think all in Metal Gear Solid 2 is, I think, 20 hours or something, 22 hours. I have a full recording because I was going to make a YouTube video about it, and it was too big. I couldn't like get the shape to work out. But I played all of Metal Gear Solid without skipping any codec calls and without skipping any cutscenes. I think it's like 14 hours or something. It's like relatively short.
Yeah.
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 It's worthwhile. Good game. Now, eventually, Metal Gear Solid 4 is like everything you've always dreamed it could be. But
yeah.
They're short up
literally like 3 hours of gameplay.
It rules.
But
you get to watch the.
But then you get to play V, and V rules, except for the first hour.
Nick, do you know about the install screens for Metal Gear Solid 4?
They're like real time, not cutscene. They're like ambient.
Yeah.
Visual scapes. Yeah.
You just watch Solid Snake smoke a cigarette.
I'm aware of this because I've seen the classic Giant Bomb riff of this where Drew Scanlon eats Twizzlers for 15 minutes straight. And I'm like, what is going on? And everyone's like, oh, I see. Okay. This and the latter is basically the only things about Metal Gear Solid.
I think the latter is, I think that's overhyped.
I think it's a good song. And it's just
a great song.
It's a very good song, very well sung. And that it elevates the latter to mythical status because
especially because it comes in like in waves. Whoever did the actual like sound design,
the implementation is really good.
Right.
Yeah,
it's good.
It's good. You know what? It's good. I'm gonna go out on a limb. But yeah, so those probably all I've been playing. What y'all been playing?
I just finished playing Kaizen, A Factory Story, the newest formerly Zachtronics, now Coincidence team who did Opus Magnum and Space Chem and Last Call BBS. It's good. That team basically only hits it out of the park every time, I think.
Is that all the same team as like Matthew Weiss back in and all? No, wait, not Matthew Weiss.
Matthew Burns.
Burns. Yeah. Sorry, getting my Matthews confused.
I don't know 100% if it's the same team every time, but I know Zach Barth and Matthew Burns are in the majority of them. At the very least. Well, Zach obviously, I guess, is all but
Matthew Burns is there. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he is in a trailer. Excuse me. He is in a server with me and Nick and said, "Hey, I just made this game."
Yeah, that too. No, Kaizen is great. If you like those games, if you like a puzzle optimization, moving little arms around tracks and pushing them and pulling stuff, that's good. I've gotten back into Mars First Logistics, which I think you were a big fan of, Cameron. Yeah.
I did. I love that. Yeah, I saw you were social mediaing about it, or maybe in the Discord the other day you were saying something about it, and that game rules. That game's really good.
I completely missed they added in roads and monorails, and so now instead of like having to build some horrible contraption to carry like a parasol across this hellish Martian landscape, you just build a road right over that thing and just gently glide on down to your destination. I think the biggest thing actually that update adds, and the reason I fell off, or it adds all this stuff, and the reason I fell off the playing it the first time was kind of just got a little burnt out of making contraptions and having them fail all the time. I'm like, I'm gonna take a break.
That's what happened to me. Yeah.
And now you can load in like, I'm just gonna build some roads and kind of just like work on my little network, and you can make some progress and take a break from having to construct this thing that keeps tipping over and falling down a long hole. So that's good.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much.
That's an Ian McClarty game, isn't that Ian McClarty?
It is Ian McClarty. Yeah.
Ian McClarty, good game designer. Shout outs.
Did you know there's a Catacombs of Solaris competition that was run at some point?
Where people made their own Catacombs of Solaris?
No. They played Catacombs of Solaris competitively to like assemble images within using Catacombs of Solaris, which is like a psychedelic game of I'll need to look this up and I suppose link it. An old Ian McClarty game that
I mean it's essentially like a visual generation tool. You know what I mean? Like it's a really weird. This is super cool. This rules. I didn't know about this. Also, it was like done live at a bar. That rules. Like the Catacombs of Solaris.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fine. This rules actually. I just played Occlude, which is the new horror solitaire game by Tributary, who did the King of the Castle party game. It's real small, and it's charmingly put together. It's got some more of that Emily Cheeseman art that I really, really like. It's not... I like it, but I'm not wired to solve those kinds of problems real well, so I had to really like poke around to figure out... The whole concept of it is it's like one of those kinds of games where it's a game that doesn't tell you what all the rules are from the very beginning. And so you have to discover what the rules are of what cards you're allowed to play, almost like Mao or similar games where whoever is running the thing has constructed like requirements that aren't apparent.
And intentionally obtuse, yeah.
Or at least for Mao, yeah. And so it's, it's pretty short. It's like 4 hours worth, if even that, of like figuring out how to play these cards. I really, really respect it for using the whole buffalo, so to speak. Like, it is a game that does pretty much everything that you could do with the components on screen that allow you to play solitaire in interesting ways.
Mm-hmm. Cool. It's like I'm looking at it here on the thing, because it's like straightforwardly solitaire, but with like a series of additional modifiers. It looks like you're saying, like exactly. Of how to use the things. Okay.
Right. So, cool. This is like the very first thing that it teaches you. So it's not quite a spoiler, but like basically what it wants you to do is it wants you to play solitaire, a variant where you are stacking up the suits in two piles. So one has the ace and the other one has the king already placed. And so you can start stacking them either from high or from low. And so to quote unquote score for a particular game of solitaire, you're trying to figure out which cards you're supposed to place last. And so a given game might be, the 4 of clubs needs to be one of the last 4 cards that you place as you're scoring these stacks. And how you figure out which one of those is one of the cards that you need is different from game to game. And it's sort of wrapped around this like kind of you might call it like 1920s conspiracy Lovecraft kind of framework of like cursed card game that passes through the ages, the ability to maybe affect reality in interesting ways. Yeah.
In the 5 screenshots, that is the only thing I'm not hyper enthused about.
Yeah.
Although the interview transcript thing, that's pretty cool. So it seems cool. Seems interesting.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that team making anything, if I'm perfectly honest. So I was pretty willing to pick it up regardless of of how I wound up feeling about it.
This is reversing for 2 seconds
Do it.
to Ian McClarty
Yeah.
praise. I was looking for the title of this thing. People should check out South Bank Portrait, which is one of Ian McClarty's like earlier proc gen, I don't know, like terrain experiments.
Oh, okay.
Which I know that he was working on.
This
That's
looks
like
cool.
what I think that's what the Catacombs of Solaris or whatever. It's like part of a series of these like proc gen world generation things that Ian was making. And it's just the one that kind of like became pseudo viral, and I think probably because it like damages your eyes while you play it.
Yeah.
But South Bank Portrait's really cool because it's
This is cool.
it's made out of all the textures in the game are like proc gen assembled together. Like I think I don't know exactly how, but I mean they're stretched over this like they are processed in some way and then turned into textures.
Right.
And then the textures are stretched over this like proc gen terrain. So like every part of it looks really weird, but they're out of like real photographs that he took.
Yeah.
So it's like a weird little experiment thing, but I remember it being very cool to just wander around in at the time from 6 years ago. No, for longer. It was made in 2015, 10 years ago.
It's a whole decade ago.
Now, I know, listener, it's hard to play a game from 10 years ago, but you can. Oh, Ned Kelly also rules, too. I'm just looking at Ian McClarty's itch.io page. Have y'all played this game?
No.
All right, hold on. Let me. I'll just put it in the chat for you.
All right.
There you go. Just click that bad boy. It's called Ned Kelly, and you play in browser.
Yes.
I'm playing.
And you're Ned Kelly. If people, since you can't see it, you can check it out on your own. But it's it's got some of the similar kind of terrain generation stuff that McClarty uses in a lot of places. But you can only see out of a little tiny visor because Ned Kelly wore that big funny hat.
Yeah.
I'm sure that Australians don't prefer me to say it that way, but that's
I'm
true.
gaming.
It's real gaming. It's playable in browser.
This is very good. Speaking of games from 10 years ago, before I let you go, I have to say that in preparation for this talk, I played a game from the very first Kickstarter that I ever backed. A little game called
Exploding Kittens.
How Dare You? No, I replayed Catacresis, and it's still
Hey,
good.
one of 9 people. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Big up.
Yeah.
Does it hold up? Is it good?
It is.
It can be bad. You can say if it's bad, it can be bad.
It is absolutely not
I truly
bad.
don't know.
If it was bad, I wouldn't have brought it up. No,
That's interesting. Not really my strategy in life, as you can tell. If something's bad, I bring it up.
no,
Everything I don't talk about is bad by that logic.
No, it's dreadful. Open parentheses, complimentary, close parentheses.
Mm-hmm.
It's got such a good sense of like something bad's going to happen, and you just got to walk forward and see what that is. I really enjoyed
The
it.
game came out of a series of experiments. It was supposed to be part of a trilogy. So Catacresis came out first, and then a Panellepsis came out second. So I kickstarted both of those. Like in the first one, whatever, I kickstarted for like a few $100 or $1,000 or something. And the second one was pretty much more substantial than that. And the idea behind both of those was, can you make... Because this was like the era of like the Game Jolt horror game, you know what I mean? Like if you remember that time gosh, I'm like blanking on these, like a bunch of escape roomy type of games.
Right.
I've got like a big list. I actually have like a big spreadsheet of like games from that time that I played. I should put that like on the internet somewhere because it's just a bunch of like single creator horror games from before the time when that was like a big viral moment, right before the kind of Slender Man-esque explosion.
Yeah, it's like pre-itch, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Because Catacresis is self-hosted on my website, right? Before any of that stuff. So yeah, pre-itch. But yeah, so the idea behind all those was like playing those types of games and being like, can you make a horror game that doesn't use any of that stuff, that isn't based on jump scares? And Zareen did the soundtrack for it. It's like a completely... No, I don't remember who... No, I think Zareen did the soundtrack for that game too. But also then went on to do... No, yeah, Zareen did... I'm sorry. Zareen did Catacresis, and she did an awesome job on that. And it's like 15 tracks of bespoke stuff. I mean, it's like a full game soundtrack that was made for that thing. I don't know if that's on Bandcamp or something, but I should put that online. And then John Fio did a Panellepsis, but which was like, can you do a time travel game that has like time loopy stuff in it that doesn't make it feel hollow? And I don't know if that one worked out, but they were both experiments in like, could I do a thing of the type of game that I like and do it in a way that doesn't depend on like a genre constraint? So they were both like, they were experimental, and they both kind of hit with specific audiences. Kind of Crisis actually was played by a lot of people, like lots and lots of people, which was really great. Panellepsis was not really well received, I would say. But
I've not played that one.
So you can. I think it's $2 on Steam. If it sucks, I'll give you your $2 back. I'll refund you your money. No, it's not for everybody. That's just for Brendan, by the way. Nick, you would have to.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's fine.
I won't do it. I'm sorry. But it was meant to be a trilogy, but a little behind the scenes. I kickstarted a Panellepsis and got like a publisher contract and all this kind of stuff. Real indie game developer 2015 stuff. Mm-hmm. And I developed like, without being too graphic, like a very... I developed a large pocket of fluid in my torso that required me to be like hospitalized while making that game. And also, so it was really bad. Or not the game. I think the game's fine. But that was like a bad experience. And it ate up all the money from the game. But thankfully, I mean, not thankfully for like everyone involved financially, but the publisher went bankrupt very shortly after that. So I didn't owe anyone any money. And that was okay. Like I'm sad that happened.
Right situation.
Why isn't this an indie game, the movie? This should be there.
That should have been an indie game movie. And also it was the kind of thing of like, I'm really sad that happened to them. And it's a bummer when the company goes, I'm not making light of that whatsoever. But also, in no universe should they ever given me any amount of money. Like, they just should never have done it. And maybe it was that kind of decision making that ultimately led to their broader demise. I do believe that for the most part, they sold train simulator game DLC. That was like 95% of their business model. And then for whatever reason, they I think they gave me like $5,000 or something. It's a very small amount of money. It was not substantive enough to do it. But anyway, so I made those two games. It was meant to be a trilogy, and I like did the whole design doc for the third game and like had a bunch of the stuff done. And the end of making a Panellepsis was like so physically traumatic is not the right word, but like costly, both financially and just like Jesus. I like couldn't do it again. I couldn't sit there and make another like no inventory adventure game. And like, because I made all the art assets and did all the writing, and it was a lot of work, as you both know. You know how this stuff goes. Even the smallest games require a huge amount of work. And so, it just like literally burned me out. And I didn't really make any games for a really long time. After probably like 2 years or something, I didn't make anything like at all. Anyway,
That's
back on the horse now though.
Are you getting into zine mode?
Yeah, making all kinds of stuff. I'm working on last thing. I know that we said we had to be done, but y'all know I love to talk. I love to get on a microphone and just talk about stuff.
Yeah.
But
I like Alien.
I like Alien.
I like Predator.
I like Predator.
I'll talk about either of them.
Boy, do I have a movie for you.
Two great tastes that go together.
That's right.
I'm working on a project right now. I'm working on a couple game things. One is a project I'm working on with a student, which is a life path, a system agnostic fantasy life path generator.
Hell yeah.
And we've actually got about a week left on our dev calendar for that. We were working on it all summer. It was a funded thing through my university, and that's going to come out and be like a commercially available product. And I think it's very good, actually. We surveyed basically not literally every, but the vast majority of life path games. We kind of surveyed them and read through them and kind of figured out how they operated and how they handled the life path. They're all very different. And then we kind of took all the things that we liked the most and kind of crammed it all together. And so the idea is like whatever fantasy oriented game that you want to do, if you want to do a life path background, but you don't want to like, because for so many of those games, it's bound up in a skill system or whatever. Our assumption is that maybe you don't want to pick a game solely because of its life path mechanisms, right? Like you might want to be able to mix and match. And so I think it's going to be between 36 and 40 pages. It's a little unclear at this moment. But it's going to be a substantive thing, and we're kind of in conversations right now with people to publish it. So that's going to be really, really fun.
Well, in a life path game kind of, you're not going to get a 12-page zine with a life path generator kind of inside it, right? So it's a nice like
unless
Well,
You should. It's harder than you think. But it should have every background should have its own piece of bespoke art. I mean, it's going to be a really cool. I mean, we've spent 3 months just working on this for 8 hours a day. So
Cool.
Short dev time for a lot of stuff, but I think for what we're describing, that's like a pretty robust dev time. Got that. I have like a really small, like literally 4-pager that is coming out soon that I'm working on. And it's part of a larger art project that I am doing, like a multimedia. This sounds like so 90s to say. A larger multimedia art project, a web-based multimedia art project. But it's going to have a podcast element to it. It's kind of unrelated to Range Touch stuff. It's going to be interviews with people about space and place and how it kind of figures into their work. And the first one of those should be coming out really soon, actually, next few weeks. It'll have a game component of several zine games that are really short and kind of easily accessible, but kind of deal with space and place in very particular, specific ways. My idea is to create games that are systemically hyper local to the condition in which you play them. So wherever you are when you play it, it will become about the place you're at because of the way the games work, the way the rules are written. We'll see if that works. The first one does work. We'll see if the next several I have planned will. And then the last piece is a series of bespoke, small published essays that you can only get from me in physical form. So, gotcha. and they will all have a limited release. The first one, I've already started distributing them to people in the local area. It'll have 50 copies, and after that, I will never make another one. So, I don't know. I've become, in the moment that we live in, for lack of a better phrase, right? I think that the local is more important than ever to me, especially to someone, Brendan, people living in the South, right? Like it's a very particular kind of flavor going on right now. And things are moving really rapidly and they are changing very rapidly in a way that is distressing. And I'm thinking a lot about art that interacts, not just like space-based or location-based art, but art that becomes a kind of bridge into actually learning about the place that you live and doing things there, because I think that matters a lot. So, not to end like a long podcast that's like me being like sarcastic and sardonic about many things, or like a really heartfelt thing, but that is like where I think my creative practice is at this moment. Is about that stuff, and I think probably the both of you can empathize with that, and probably many people who are listening can empathize with that. But yeah,
absolutely.
I hope so. Yeah, I appreciative not only of how thoughtful you are about the things that you make, but the zeal with which you put that stuff and the stuff that other people make out there for people to engage with. So thank you.
Yeah. We try. It's the thing.
Yeah, that's all you can do. Cameron, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me, and thanks to everybody for listening to the show. The show rules. The show is good. People are waiting to hear that from me. So the show is good and it's great, and I'm really happy y'all are doing it. And it's good to know that I can be the worst in review and it's still a good show. You know what I mean? Like that's
well,
it's not all on me.
You've named 3 books that are now waiting in my checkout cart, so that's how you know it's a good.
And you should get them from bookshop.org, and you should use the Range Touch affiliate. Okay, goodbye, everybody.